Hello YouTube, Shadow Hero 90 here. As you can already tell, I've been doing this show for about 3 years at this point, and in addition to the reasons as to why I do this, which I brought up last year, I am now actually going to state a few more reasons why I do this. One of which is that the portrayal of men in movies and TV is essentially toxic. And I mean really toxic. Men are... To be honest, I can't believe that I'm one of the only very few people who legitimately thinks that this kind of portrayal is not only toxic, but completely unfair. Second of which is the fact that these cartoons are aimed at kids, and they do not send a good message. Most of the time, a lot of these shows are role model shows, and the characters exist for the sole purpose to be imitated, and yeah, in doing so, you send some really horrible messages. And the last possible reason I could think of is that not this, but all these shows are pushing a political agenda. To be more precise, the political agenda comes in the form of a princess character whose initials are J and B. I'm pretty sure you can figure out who I'm talking about on those initials alone. But yes, a lot of these shows, and to extension, a lot of these role model shows, are pushing a political agenda. And as a white heterosexual man, I really don't want kids being indoctrinated because it could lead to a bad future. In fact, I really hope some really smart boy sees this show and it actually gets him thinking about sexism, and it causes him not to be indoctrinated to the feminist agenda that a lot of TV shows, cartoons, and movies are pushing. Especially a certain movie that will go unnamed that used a princess character whose initials are J and B to push their political agenda. As much as this intro actually does seem like a bad rant about the negative presentation of men and boys in the media, this is completely serious, and these 3 reasons I gave for doing the show are actual reasons. Now, that being said, if you agree with me on this, that's good. So just sit back and enjoy the review. Okay, in this episode of Sexism in Movies and TV, I will be reviewing the episode of Loud House, Brawl in the Family. Okay, so in this episode, Lenny and Lori get into a fight, and Lisa and Luna just tell Lincoln to stay out of it, not letting him go into the kitchen for a snack because one of them is in there. And they claim that sister fights just work things out if you just leave them alone. Then Lisa gives Lincoln a bagel. Well, Lisa did know that the bagel was from the couch, but apparently she didn't know how disgusting it was until Lincoln took a bite. It's almost as if she's either doing this on purpose, or more likely, she suddenly is stupid as Peter Griffin when the plot wants her to be. You know, just to give Lincoln more pain and agony. Understandably, Lincoln has to vomit, but another one of the lunatics won't let him vomit or use the bathroom, and instead makes him go in a bucket because she's done it before. And she's a little kid, and she's insane. So, yeah, this is kind of messed up when we're dealing with a boy who is 11 and has all his marbles. Then they stop Lincoln from watching TV because two of the sisters are in an argument. They physically assault him for just walking in and reaching for the goddamn remote. Well, after being highly frustrated, Lincoln decides that he's going to take matters into his own hands and ignore what his sisters tell him. Because, yeah, he's kind of being abused in this scenario. So Lincoln does talk to Lenny and Lori, and admittedly, yes, he ends up starting more fights in the house between the 10 lunatics he's forced to live with. How is Lincoln supposed to know this would happen? We get no flashbacks to any previous sister fights. So, yeah, even though he makes the problem worse, he didn't know that he'd be making it worse because he has nothing to compare it to. So then, just because Lenny was walking down the hall and Lori was at the same time, Lynn and Lola essentially put her in Lincoln's room and throw him out. They don't even try to compromise. They don't ask Lincoln if Lori can stay with him for what can only be assumed to be half a minute to a minute and 20 seconds. They just directly kick him out. Then later at dinner, Lynn and Rita Loud prove what shitty parents they really are when they acknowledge that they know about this sort of thing, make Lincoln eat twice in a row to the point where his stomach might as well explode, and nor do they want to take sides, even though even though they shouldn't take sides, they're still the parents. And they should bring this little sister fight to an end. Because, well, they have the authority to. They're the parents. They could do it easily. But no, they don't. They don't even try disciplining Lenny or Lori for their deplorable behavior, and instead just sit by on the sidelines watching their only son suffer. Even back before the show began, when it was just Lenny and Lori, they did not discipline them, even though they could have, and should have, based on what I'm seeing in this episode. I know they don't want to take sides, and they shouldn't, but they should bring this horrific behavior to an end. It's called being a responsible parent. So anyways, when Lincoln gets back to his bedroom, he finds out that his deranged sisters stole his sheets just so they could have the means to keep Lenny and Lori apart, even though you usually just draw a line on the floor for this sort of thing. But nope, they had to do it in a way where Lincoln actually has to face consequences to something he didn't even do. And for complaining about this little fact of injustice, well, Lana throws used and stinky laundry on him, telling him to use that as a blanket and sheets. So finally, Lincoln has had about enough, and he takes his sheets and blanket back and tells off his two bitch sisters. Lincoln wakes up the next day only to find out that all the lunatics are fighting. Things got so bad that Lincoln had to stay over at Clyde's house, which in all fairness, if it wasn't in favor of the plot, Lincoln's deranged sisters would have suggested he do that in the first place. So Lincoln goes home, ready to fix this problem once and for all, only to find that the problems have resolved themselves. And then Lisa tells Lincoln that he's the problem, apparently because he's a boy. You know, that's very insulting. Lincoln has shown he's shown a high level of intelligence. And if this was so above his comprehension, they would have just had him sleep over with Clyde like he did. Or at least Lisa would have if she's anywhere near as smart as this cartoon says she is. Which leads to another sister fight, only this time the parents, Lily and Lincoln, are taken off the premise, and you're probably wondering what was the chain event that started this whole episode. It must have been something really fucking bad. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was just that Lori got a new dress, Lenny had the exact same dress, and Lori, acting like a spoiled little bitch, demands that Lenny return it. And that's what starts the fight. You know, to be honest, I see fans of this show basically saying that the Loud sisters, but doesn't this behavior strike anyone else as being crazy, deranged, insane, psychotic, or however the hell you want to put it? Since the beginning of the Loud House, Clyde McBride has been both Lincoln's best friend and Lori's stalker. So in the episode A Change of Heart, when Clyde literally, well, he pretty much wants to find out how to be around Lori without doing this, he goes to Lenny for help. And when Lori finds out about this and thinks that Clyde now has a crush on Lenny, she tries to copy Lenny to get her stalker back, and when doing so, she acts like a complete nut, having an argument with her own reflection and everything, like some kind of schizophrenic lunatic. And to be honest, if I were Lincoln, I would probably do the whole sister fight thing and pit them against each other for my own amusement, if I were him. Not to mention not put up with any of their abuse. But in all seriousness, The Loud House is technically a show about a boy in a very abusive home life.